I'd like to call the Planning Commission meeting to order. Unfortunately, only 3 of us are in attendance, but we do have quorum, so we will continue as planned. The first item, if there is anyone in attendance that is planning to speak today, I know we have a couple cases and a public hearing, so I imagine someone would like to speak in our audience. I do need to administer an oath. Tony, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth to this commission?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Our first item is the public hearing on the PUD at Mill Iron Union. It's Tony Farian is the developer. That is also our first case. Is there anyone in attendance that is planning to speak during the public hearing? We sort of keep that a 15-minute window open. There's no one. You sure?
Yeah.
Positive?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll keep it. If someone does come in, we will stop the case where we are and go from there. We could also maybe skip the case since that until after our communications. Potentially, kind of leave a 15-minute window open there. Would anyone be opposed to that? Or? Let's do that. Tony, you can bear with us for a little bit.
Sure.
15, we'll proceed to the case if there's no input. The item that I have under communications, I think we could try to talk about this for 15 minutes, even though we're not, everyone's on the same page. It's parking recommendations. This has to do with sort of looking at our off-street parking and loading regulations, as well as the bicycle parking regulations that had been suggested by the bicycle group. Paul Logan forwarded that information to us at the last, I think when we were talking about the agenda. I'm not sure. Shar, did you attach that to this? Okay, great. I see it. Okay. We never really, this was brought up by our city planner, Paul Logue, for discussion by the Planning Commission. I don't think we ever read it publicly or anything. I think it was just sort of disseminated by Paul. So I'm going to read it aloud so we know what we are addressing. The first item is adding a definition in Title 23, Chapter 10.01. This is under zoning code definitions. The definition is short-term bicycle parking, a rack to which the frame and at least one wheel can be secured with a user-provided U-lock or padlock and cable. This type of parking is appropriate for short-term parking at locations such as shopping areas, libraries, restaurants, and other places where typical parking duration is less than 2 hours. Also, the recommendation is to change the definition of parking area in that same section 231001 from parking area, any public or private area under outside of a building or structure designed and used for parking motor vehicles, including parking lots, garages, and legally designated areas of public interest. Changing it to adding bicycles after motor vehicles, so any public or private area under or outside of a building or structure designed and used for motor vehicles and bicycles, including parking lots, garages, and legally designated areas of public interest. Also adding a new table, to Table D. I believe this is Chapter or Title 23, 11 is the section that the tables fall under. Off-street bicycle parking requirements would be the name of the table. This would cover all commercial, retail, restaurants, uses, or similar facilities. Under that item on the table, we'd have minimum of 4 bicycle parking spaces plus 2 additional for every 10,000 square feet after first 10,000 square feet. And then also under that table, we'd have a multi-unit residential section. And this would be, in those areas, minimum of 1 bicycle parking space for each permitted bedroom. If the required number of bicycle parking spaces for residential exceeds 16, then at least half of the required bicycle parking spaces shall be covered following guidelines in the city's adopted bicycle and pedestrian plan. That is all the bicycle parking recommendations that I'm aware of brought forth by the sort of made clear in the bicycle and pedestrian plan. Is there anything you wanted to add, Paula, to?
One comment I had from our discussion last summer on this is one of the planning commissioners, I think it may have been you, RJ, recommended or thought that maybe in regards to zoning for this stuff, All commercial, retail, restaurant use or similar facilities, we should exclude the B2D since they don't have parking requirements as is for business use. And they don't have, generally don't have parking space to even put something in. And they don't have the authority to put bicycle parking on the right-of-way as is. So
Right.
that certainly makes sense to me. You may want to look at the same recommendation for multi-use residential in the B2D unless they can somehow get it inside the building, which may or may not be easy to do. I'm not sure.
Yeah, the short, I guess I wonder how we put that, bicycle parking space, we have a short-term bicycle parking and we have a parking area. Is that considered part of the parking area, or how would you look at the definition of that bicycle parking space?
It could be in the parking lot where vehicles go. It could be in the sidewalk leading into a building or any other semi-public area of a commercial structure adjacent to the front door. Ideally, it would be covered, but we didn't want to go that far into requiring covered parking since there could be significant cost added to that.
Right, it was just only if the number of them
Right.
are so many.
Yeah.
And then in the guidelines itself is where it sort of details what the parking space dimensions and rack requirements would be. So, yeah, I didn't have many objections to these recommendations. I'm glad you remembered about the B2D exclusion. I think that's a good point.
Well, for example, even though we're not talking about Tony Farian's unit, but you're going to have 80-odd occupants at this proposal, so he would then, obviously grandfather technically have to kick in and have that many
About
parking
8 racks. It's about 8 of those
racks?
standard racks, more or less, yeah.
Well, he would only need half of that because he's over 16.
No,
Right.
half will have to be covered. I don't think that
Requirement.
excludes them from the one.
Yeah, you'd still have to
Oh, shall
have-
be covered, okay, I didn't read the whole thing.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Would it count, so would the covered parking count towards the lot coverage recommendation that we made? Would that count towards being,
It probably would, yeah.
whereas an uncovered would not, or would, I can't,
It would if it was on solid surface.
yeah, so that, it still would depend on the surface.
If it was a rack on grass.
But if it's just, that's something we'd have to look at.
I'm wondering if that would be
I think-
exempting from
yeah.
the lot coverage.
Seems
I
like
don't
it
know
could
how
be an
you-
It could be.
exclusion.
Yeah.
Or maybe we just modify the definition and exclude covered.
Modify these definitions as opposed
The
to going back
the
on
lot
lot coverage?
Yeah. I think it'd be harder to do it here. I guess you could say the covered bicycle does not impact your lot coverage, but I feel like you'd probably have to amend lot coverage to...
It doesn't matter if it's covered or not covered, is what I heard.
Well, if it's uncovered, it would depend on what the surface is.
Depends on the surface
On
underneath.
surface. But if it's covered, you're pretty much going up a level, and that's the surface, is that whatever you're using as your...
If it's covered, it would have to count.
Unless it's, does thatch count?
Does what count?
Would a
Thatch.
thatched roof count as... Just kidding aside, yeah.
If you're looking at it in the scope of Mr. Farian's project as an example, you're only looking at a space that's from here to where you are. You can fit 100 bikes in that type of a space, or 80 bikes on those types of racks pretty easily. So it's not and only half of that would have to be covered as well.
Right.
So you're looking at basically more or less a smaller size than a single car garage.
Right, and it does seem like where a lot of these developments are going in, you're dealing with a floodplain issue, or, and you're not really having, you always have that sort of dead
Yeah.
story, or the back of house that you can't quite fit cars under, but you would be able to fit bicycles under pretty easily, so.
Is grass, in other words, where he could, using Mr. Farian as an example, if he's sunk some pipes into grass and put the racks there?
Can be fine.
I would be fine with that. In relation to the lot coverage, sure.
Yeah, so long as
there's
the-
plenty of examples in city parks, and
Yeah,
there's a lot of ways to do that.
as long as the racks are tied down.
Yeah. As long as it's secured somehow, so that you can't just yank the rack itself out of the ground and run with it, you know.
Just looking in the future, is this something that would require a variance from the BZA if someone said, I'm building my 85-unit complex, and yes?
Title 23.
23.
Yeah,
It's part of parking requirements, just like any other.
I would think so.
Would the exemptions go in the table? Or where would you, like if you
They
were
could go on
exempt-
the table, yeah.
B2D.
The B2D
It would just say, yeah.
is in the table, yeah.
You want to define multi-unit as 3 units or more?
Is it not already defined, or?
Well, could we put this?
Duplex would be a multi-unit, and I just don't know if it's a duplex house. We don't have a lot of them around, but
I wonder if you could just put it in table B with the off-street parking. Just add
What do you
a
think?
bicycle parking requirement to it. Because that already covers B2D, all those zones.
You're saying in table B?
Yeah, rather than doing a new table D that just covers bicycle parking, doesn't table B cover off-street parking?
yes.
Or that's, I didn't, unfortunately.
I don't know the number off the top of my head. I know there is a table in there for,
Munich code did not have the tables available, so I didn't get a chance to print that off.
I
But
can,
all the reference in the off-street parking was being made to table B, so that was my assumption. I don't know if it, if it just makes more sense to keep it, for clarity's sake, to do a table D rather than trying to adjust table B. But I figure if we're going to look at off-street parking and making adjustments there anyhow,
it
might
may
be-
require its own little table, because the way that table's laid out is specifically for automobiles. And drawing this in there would maybe confuse things a
Yeah.
little bit.
Okay.
I'll bring,
Yeah, as you said, for clarity's sake, I think probably
I just,
make that distinction.
I'll put that together for the next planning commission,
okay.
comparison of both tables, and
Yeah, well, because I'd
Clarify
like to
that.
keep going with the parking and
Mhm.
try to get that, we get the bicycle parking adopted pretty quickly. I don't think there's going to be a lot of objections on this commission to getting this worked out. It's not going to be signed recommendations. So.
But I do wonder if developers might have, a comment or two they'd like to say related to this,
Well, we could,
Would we be able to deed restrict bicycle parking as regular parking? I mean, if you were in an area that you, just like regular parking, if I didn't have enough parking in one area but I had extra in another, I mean, we deed restrict parking. So
you probably could, I mean,
Pretty
if
much
you,
the same thing, right? I mean,
looking
if I want to make a
Yes.
corral of parking
yeah, if
for
you've got
bikes.
several buildings, you could, that could probably be worked out.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
with,
It's not like you'd have to provide a tag to each tenant, of course, so there's,
is there a distance, I mean, there's a distance requirement with how close the vehicle parking needs to be when you de-restrict, so we'd probably have to come up with
Like
either the
200
same or...
250.
Yeah. You have to think with a bicycle, would have to be
Could be
less or something.
pedestrians,
Why go through all
yeah.
that place to get your bike if you could have just walked to that place? But I think I'd be open to that, it's just trying to get a distance we can move with.
Well, 8 racks of bicycles, if you lined them all up like you were saying, that could get a little bit difficult trying to get your bike, like you're saying, in and out of there as opposed to how you do it.
You can have a bunch of open space and bike parking. Very beautiful. Any other items people want to bring up now? I'm sure Harry and Paul will have comments when we get into this. So, all right, for the time being, Paul, if you could just do a comparison of how this table is being approached and then what table B is now.
yeah, no problem.
And I do want to clarify, I mean, Paul Logue, the city planner, brought this forward, but this did come out of your bicycle and pedestrian planning transportation subcommittee. So
Yeah, I did not have the name of that committee. I was trying to make it clear that you were just the messenger, that you cared for all of that.
Oh, he's a proponent.
Well, I'm a proponent.
Oh, yeah.
It is a part of an adopted plan of the City of Athens, our bicycle and pedestrian plan, which council adopted last year. The Planning Commission, I believe, made a recommendation that council adopt that.
Right.
And this did come out of Councilwoman Chris Nisley's subcommittee of her Transportation Committee. So there's roughly 20, give or take, 15 to 20 people that come to those meetings every month and
Okay.
are certainly advocates for this. So, yeah.
No, we could definitely use an attendance boost. So. What I have is off-street parking loading regulations. This falls under 2308. I'm not going to ask anyone to read this here, but for maybe your next meeting that I'll announce I won't be at, we could have it up for discussion. The items I want people to pay particular attention to is comes up time and time again here is, do we have maximum number of parking spaces or is it a minimum number? Right now it's set up as a minimum, and there had been discussion maybe you have a maximum amount of parking spaces allowed per development, so that we're asking people to develop residential units, not parking lots. And I think the problem we're running into now with the minimum is if you have the space, people might be interested in more parking for more revenue. And I don't think we want to turn away from revenue, but we just need to find a happy balance. So take a look at that, and we'll delve into this more. Without further ado, unless we can come back to communications and come back to these items as well, but I would like to move to our case. Again, I'll leave it if anyone has any public comments. You're welcome to do so now. Otherwise, we'll proceed to case number 1101, Tony Farian's Mill Iron Union Planned Unit Development. Tony, you're more than welcome to sit at the table or stand at the podium, which would be...
I'm not a podium kind of guy.
This is a preliminary review by the city staff for the East Union Street apartments, at Mill Iron as well. Paul Logue, if you, as you do so wonderfully every time, want to lead us through that staff review, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. As a starter, the staff review is almost identical to the one from March when we had a preliminary hearing. The only addition I made to it was under traffic, where I just the last sentence. We did have a citizen who attended the meeting on March 2nd who mentioned that there was concerns about increasing traffic in that area. However, the building itself and the proposal is in line with the zoning and is in line with similar developments that have taken place there. The analysis section, I believe the 4 homes have already been torn down?
No.
They have not? Okay.
We're waiting on demo permits for that.
Okay. It's R3 zoning, this is a planned unit development. Planned unit developments are by code required to be 2 acres or greater, so Mr. Farian would need to, the Planning Commission, if they wanted to vote on it, would also have to vote to recommend council award a variance from the 2-acre requirement.
Okay.
There is precedent for that. The
Just
Madison
recent.
Heights project was just recent. I believe all 3 of you were on the Planning Commission at that point as well. Project consists of 8 parcels, 5 of which front on Mill Iron and 3 of which front on East Union. The parcels adjoin on the rear. It is surrounded by multi-use residential, student rentals located on the adjacent properties. It is also close to Ohio University's East Screen residence halls and the academic buildings on East Union, which include School of Education or the College of Education and music, I believe, and art. Would you like me to go into the detail of what?
The John Paskey's code
Yeah.
review.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think it's probably good for people who are watching or following the transcripts to go through some of the major items.
Okay.
If you wouldn't mind.
Mr. Farian has demonstrated that he sufficiently meets the parking requirements. He's actually going to provide 7 additional spaces with a total of 91 when 84 are required. Setback issues, zoning, height, coverage, the total lot coverage does not meet the current code. However, at the time of application, this was prior to that situation, so
Right.
it should be sufficient. It appears as if he's got sufficient for Shade Tree Commission in relation to that. He does still have to be reviewed by them.
Okay.
The fill from the floodplain is sufficient as well. Other floodplain issues, he is required to meet 1 foot above the base flood elevation for the lowest floors of the project. We have not received a pre-construction elevation certificate or a post-construction yet, but that's standard stuff. We'll work that out as we go along. Lighting, and I think that might be an additional comments on that. The plans do not show the lighting on here. We've seen that a lot with some of the projects that have been proposed. They always end up putting in lighting. I don't know if there's any concerns about that, or...
We would like to request, because of the increase in sexual assaults in the area, that the developer give some additional thought into placement. The APD would be glad to assist in that in terms of making that a safe and secure area.
Yeah, I guess I'd request that the APD provide maybe like a foot candles, or it's just something they're after in that area.
I'm sorry, what?
Just the amount of like light they want in the lot, just to establish sort of a base.
Our code does have a maximum for foot candles already in there. That was adopted about 6 or 7 years ago.
With the light pollution?
Yeah, based on light pollution. We certainly have lots of best practices that we could provide Mr. Farian to show the best way to light for safety. It's not just, lighting up the world. It's about the angles of your lighting fixtures and the locations of them. We'd be happy to sit with Mr. Farian and make some recommendations on that.
And I guess the concern there on the light pollution, because underneath these buildings is all open, and those will all be lighted constantly. So underneath, we're and all this other area, which would house hundreds of bicycles probably, covered too.
Like what you're thinking.
I mean, hundreds of bikes could get underneath these 2 buildings, alongside the parking. But these will be lit up underneath, so I don't know how, there's going to be a lot of light coming out of those things. So I don't know how, where the balance is that you're looking for, because I don't want to
I think you said you were going to do the red lights down between the 2 parking lots, didn't you? Post lamps or something?
Well, I guess what I'm saying, if you go in certain areas where these are the same, this light will light that, I guarantee will light that parking lot up, but I was never aware of too much light, which now becomes another, because these are pretty large buildings, and there's going to be a lot of light coming out of them underneath these things going outward. So I guess, conferring with these guys, I would want to make sure that I don't have too much light, because looking at the amount of building coverage here, I'm actually thinking I might have too much light now, because I was never aware that there was a light pollution law.
Well, and that best practices that, the planner can share with you, it's how you display it too.
Yeah.
It's not...
Yeah, you'll probably be
Spread it out.
okay. You're not pointing up into the air.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I definitely want security in this area also.
Usually just, you have it all coming out, but there still might be some dark areas between cars, just trying to eliminate some of those hiding spots where people feel safe that they're...
What's the city street light situation down there? Is it, in other words, between Stewart and, say, where the railroad tracks are going into American Collegiate Communities?
Offhand, I'm not sure.
Maybe something like that.
Stewart.
I mean, if we have a general concern about lighting, does the city play a part in
Yeah,
adding to the light?
there was, the last time anybody approached us with general concerns about lighting, I think was with Jeff Hill.
There is, but we were actually looking at that.
Yeah.
APD's patrolling that area. We've already identified one of the streets down in there that needs some tree canopy coverage removed and also an installation of an additional light. So they're actively working that area and identifying safety needs.
All right. Also under Chief Tom Powell's request is developer interested in installing video feeds. Is this a new practice for video feeds to the parking area?
He's asked for that from time to time if people
Okay.
are willing to. It's not a requirement.
No, I wasn't aware of it. I'm not directly asking the question towards Tony Farron. If your take on it, just was not aware of that.
We also had, back to Mr. Paskey's comments, I believe, the dumpster and trash locations, that was an issue that was, the planning commissioners brought up in the March meeting.
Right.
I don't know if that's been adequately resolved based on the plans that you have, or if that meets.
The small building's okay, the large building I did discuss with Tony, I'd like to see the dumpsters at least back behind the front edge of the setback of the building. It is a PUD, so if they, I think it is allowed to be out there where they're at, but I think keeping that front line would be much more aesthetically pleasing and having him move them back at least one spot, or as Tony indicated to me, maybe just putting a dumpster straight back coming in.
Yeah, right over here is what John and I talked about.
So
I had planned on doing an enclosed here with shrubbery all around it, was my plan. This is just my feeling, I don't like dumpsters because they look trashy. And we've used the individual cans that Rumpke delivers, and we've put them over on 65 Stewart. They're aesthetically pleasing. I think Rumpke does a fantastic job of keeping them empty and clean. And I'm against the dumpster thing. But if that's what you guys want me to
No,
put
you can
in,
do a
you
dumpster,
can
just-
spray paint them, and it looks junky, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. So my thought was, wow, really worked at 65 Stewart Street. These things are aesthetically pleasing. They've got little lock canopies over them. The trash doesn't blow all over the place in windstorms. And
That may
I've
be
had
the
good
need.
success with those.
And I said dumpster early because I thought that's
Yeah.
what those were in those, Tony.
Some- I mean,
So if
when
it's
you-
cans moving them back, same thing. I don't care if you go with cans. It's just not out in front of the house.
Yeah, but one of the size of those trash cans require probably about 1 per 3 bedrooms or something. I mean, 4 bedrooms.
We've got 16 bedrooms right now on 65 Stewart Street, and we've got 4 cans, and I've never
So
had a
it's
problem.
like a 4
Never had a problem. Because I keep my eye on that.
So you'd have like 10 cans per building or 20 cans? This
I
one,
would say,
85.
based on that, on the first building with the 30 units, there would be 8, which would be about what would be adequate
Okay.
amount. And then on the next building, there would, 54, 3 would be
Twice.
about twice as much, right?
12.
And as you see on the plans here, we kind of split them up.
Yeah, well, I think that makes sense.
So, the kids are going to be kind of coming out to each location. They're right on their walk pattern,
Right.
which is because if it's not on their walk pattern, they won't use them. Trash starts to accumulate in the corridors,
Right.
and I try to eliminate those, try to make it as easy as possible for these guys because they're students, and
Right. Well,
ease. They like ease and comfort.
yeah, I don't think we're saying dumps, just trash unit. Let's
Right.
say. So that's the location issue.
And recycling, we hope?
Yeah, if they use them, they're there, but
Okay.
that's all, I would love for them to recycle too, because that doesn't cost me any money.
Right.
I'm already paying for it, so
Right.
it's It's a required thing that's already paid for. It's just getting them to use them.
We'll work on education.
Yeah. We try to educate too.
Yeah, great.
And it kind of goes out the window. We've even got stickers on the refrigerators that we've had magnetized stickers we put on every refrigerator. Try to encourage those things, but what are you going to do?
Depends on what their parents did, I guess.
I'm not going there.
You got a lot to overcome if you're going to try to battle that one. Okay, if there's no more comments on that part of the city staff review, we do have the comments from the the Engineering and Public Works Department.
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear here. I'm looking at this where Andy has indicated that an 8-inch sanitary sewer line is recommended for building 2, and you'd be responsible for correctly sizing the line.
Right.
I just don't want any surprises. And above that on water, that a 2-inch water line will not suffice. So,
Actually, we are right now, we are in the process of, John and I kind of talked about this. Did we talk about this? Or maybe it was Valentin and I talked about this. The guy who does the sprinkler system is the one who's going to size this. He is an expert, obviously, and this is what they do for a living. And we haven't got the plans back from them for the state drawings. He has them, but he hasn't got them back to our architect yet to adequately size that.
okay.
And to show us, because we've used the 2-inch on the other two previous buildings and didn't have any problems. I mean, that's what they sized. And that's, we're going with, but, I mean, that's what the state recommends, and that's what they recommend, that's what we do.
Well,
So we don't have that information yet.
because he also included and domestic water supply separate from fire protection, so.
The project is going to be sprinkled.
Absolutely, yes. And we worked with the city on both of those the last time on the water line installation, and we had good communication there on both buildings when they were going in, and it's like we just went in and did it ourselves. I remember Chair Gilkey was down there and a couple other guys, and everybody was on the same page when we did this out in the field.
Okay. Other comments? And, Mr. Farron, you had an opportunity to review this, the staff review prior to this meeting, or?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any comments or questions that?
No.
Okay.
No, actually, John and I reviewed them the other day at his
Okay.
office, John Paskey here, and, I mean, a lot of these things were pretty much, we'd already kind of talked about, and then,
It is preliminary, and they do like to sort of prepare you for what needs to be on the final.
oh, yeah, that's not a problem.
Okay.
Actually, some of this stuff was on the other one, and somehow it got switched around again. But,
It happened.
as John and I, Paskey, talked about, there won't be any problem, following the rest of these. I call them myself just minor details that need to be tightened up.
Right.
I think all the big stuff has been addressed.
Yeah. Mr. Loeb, when is the Shade Tree Commission and John, when does
Week from
BZA
tomorrow.
meet next?
Say Tree will be a week from tomorrow. He doesn't need BZA.
So that's the 8th.
Yes, that's 9.
Where is that? Right here?
Right here.
What time?
Thursday night, 7 o'clock. Second Thursday of each month.
I mean, I think from our drawings and from previous communication with the tree commission, actually met down at the code office, we should satisfy, or
Right.
actually we're over the amount, but obviously they'll look at it again.
Right.
But we had a kind of a pre-thing down at the code office one day. I don't remember the gentleman's name.
David Ingram.
Yeah, David Ingram.
It was by chance, wasn't it?
It was by chance, but he kind of reviewed everything.
Okay.
And John told me what we needed to have on the plans, and I think we're over, as a matter of fact. So I'm all for trees, too.
Okay.
Yeah. As far as the setbacks, that's not an issue then, as far as,
One of the buildings was all right, and just scaling it off, the other building was just slightly, a little too far forward.
But with planned unit developments,
It does, right.
it allows for unique arrangements of buildings, flexibility with setbacks.
And it would have been the larger building, just on those little bump outs on each end. The center part of the building would have been okay, so it's minimal.
Any other questions for Mr. Ferry? Discussion?
Well, I mean, it seems to me we have the less than 2 acres, the setbacks.
Yeah, see, I thought the less than 2 would have to go to BZA.
Not with the planned
No,
unit
I thought
development.
plan unit had to be 2 to be, or I'm thinking,
The planned unit developments are part of the subdivision regulations.
Okay.
The Board of Zoning Appeals only awards variances from the zoning, Chapter 23, and from floodplain regulations. Any subdivision regulation, just like when we're doing a lot split, if there's an easement of access issue in the 3 mile, those have to be awarded by Athens City Council as well, based on a recommendation from the Planning Commission.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you for clarifying that confusion. Okay, so the height wouldn't be an issue. Really, they're just looking at it from the standpoint of what, if it weren't a PUD in a way, what the area is zoned for.
So that's the only item we have to
Is the
address is the less than 2 acres.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is our call. Another one. Take a brief. All right. Any other comments, or for the time being, well, it is a preliminary, so we don't vote on a preliminary. We will vote on a final, but at this
Yeah, this is-
juncture, I wouldn't see
He's
any.
already done a preliminary, hasn't he?
Yeah, you can treat this as a
This is
final,
the final.
but
I
based
thought the
on,
last one was just a communication. I didn't think that was a preliminary.
it was a public hearing that we had in
Oh,
March.
okay.
That was a preliminary hearing, yeah. If you're satisfied with what Mr. Farian's provided, and based on the detail of what still needs to be done in relation to Public Works and Shade Tree, with him satisfactory demonstrating those approvals down the road,
They didn't check it as a final review.
Yes.
So,
well, final review would probably ultimately be at City Council. It's all preliminary until then.
Final review would be after the city council approval is granted.
All right.
Then
Then those
Mr. Farian has to come back in and submit for his drawings for the actual zoning and construction of the project, street assignment, everything. That's when the final review part would be done on here. So I guess that would be more of a EPW form of how they're stamping things here. It's preliminary at their end at this time.
All right. Does every commissioner knows that our president feel comfortable going to a vote in light of the sort of conditions that we have out there? I mean, I can list the conditions if that would help. There's the review by the Shade Tree Commission, placement of the trash cans, verification of adequate lighting, and I think that's it outside of the EPW requirements that they'll have for their final review. Okay. Thank you.
I'm just wondering if we could do a more general statement that in accordance with the
The staff recommend.
yes, because there are certain items from fire. and
I'd say it seems to all be
trash,
covered.
so-
None of those items came from outside of the staff review, so would everyone feel comfortable, it's not really voting, but comfortable putting it to a vote, those conditions? All right, well, I move that we approve the PUD at Mill, Iron, and Union, case number 1101, with the conditions that the staff review requests are It's the best way to put this.
Do you need, as far as also sprinkling, as far as,
Well, it'd have to be
So that-
sprinkled because of the size, it's the state.
right, but I mean, as far as like, was that still something that Mr. Farian was still checking on
No.
also?
No, just the size of the line.
Okay.
We're definitely sprinkling the system.
No, that's what I meant, yeah, as far as that aspect.
Has
Yeah,
to be.
that's
We
a
don't need
state
that, that's fine.
requirement
Yeah, the
also.
state,
Okay.
the inspector won't approve it if the line's wrong size.
My comment was that the 2-inch water line will not suffice, according to EPW, for fire protection and domestic water supply. What I heard from Mr. Farron is he may come back and say that his fire suppression experts installers say it will suffice, but that doesn't address the domestic water supply issue. So, you know, I guess I'm comfortable if he's saying as long as all items are addressed.
Are satisfied.
Yeah.
Let's say the staff reviewers are satisfied with the end result.
Final plans.
In the final plans, yeah. No one's ever satisfied with the end result, unfortunately. All right, so I will repeat that clearly. There's a motion to approve the plan unit development with the conditions set forth in the staff review being satisfied by the reviewers.
With a recommendation for a variance. Sorry.
I forgot that one. With the recommendation for the 2-acre variance as well.
That he will have to go to the BZA for that?
No,
No.
not a BCA. We get to accept that.
So would be, the conditions would be the variance.
The variance in the staff.
Shade Tree Commission,
Right.
lighting approval from these guys, right?
This packet,
This pack, right. Well,
This
the
packet.
lighting wasn't on here.
this packet and the
Yeah,
variance.
It's
Right.
not the good best practices, but the request for sufficient lighting was made by Tom Pyle and John Paskey, so.
No, that's fine. I just want to
Okay.
make sure that I adequately, I'm in the same page you guys are on.
Absolutely.
Can I just ask something real quick? As far as like when I brought up about the city's maybe possible need to light the streets itself a little bit better, is that something that they can work with Mr. Farian on, for instance, as far as like when you're talking about lighting up the world, as far as just, where things are safe, but at the same time, they're working with Mr. Farian as far as, what he's doing to keep his residents from going blind with all the light and what have you. Is that something that,
Well, I would just think with how the units are set up, one faces Mill Iron and one faces Union, correct?
Yes, sir.
So the lights would be on Mill Iron Union, you're most likely lighting the parking lot, which sort of sits in between the two units. So I don't think there'd be a conflict with the city lighting. I could see it if it was sort of inverse, where the parking was sort of facing the both, that you wouldn't want you to be doing your calculation and not knowing what the city's calculation is, and you both are putting a light, one by the street and one by the parking lot, and covering one area. But I would think with the parking lot being sort of segregated from the two buildings, you're not really going to get much from the street lights, so I'd still...
Yeah, I wrote that down. I would definitely agree with lighting on those streets. There's no question about that, because it does get a little, John and I have talked about this before, especially on Mill Iron, as you're going down in to the other project, there is a dark area right there.
Yeah,
Behind me, the church, their lights are on all the time.
right.
And the project next to me, which is 10 Mill Iron, they have some street lighting out there too. But there's a little void, you know what I'm talking about, John, that little void, that little area. Sometimes university will have their lights on over there, which lights the whole area, but obviously you can't, you know what I mean?
They're not,
So-
yeah, the light pollution law does not affect them.
Gotcha. But, and I know that after speaking with, we're going to be putting curbs down there and working with city on East Union Street, which probably would be a bad time to take a look at a street light in front of East Union Street. Because we're going to be putting curbs in and storm sewer, and this is just me talking.
Right.
I don't think there is a light down there.
I think there's
I don't
one on
know
the
if you
other
got
side.
poles down there, do you?
We did have one at the end of, bottom of Jeff Hill.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's on the other side. You're going underground electric into the building. Are there poles on the street going down past there?
No, I don't know.
See, I don't
I'd
think
have to
there is
look.
not.
I know there is on Mill Iron because we're going under the street
Right.
and then putting in that main box right here to feed both buildings.
It's something we'll look at. If he has to do it on the front of the buildings, as you know, the front entryway, the exits and that, that's
Yeah, I'll
state
already
code
have those
required to be
lit up.
illuminated, so.
Those are already lit up. Those interior corridors are lit up. You can go by them anytime and see those lit up at night.
Well, I mean, as you continue to work through the final plans, if you do see, I guess an inadequacy on the city's part, you can always make the recommendations to Paul Logan, John Paskey, and, we can always see what can be done.
Which I have a
We won't put
problem,
that,
because I want it to be nice too. I want it to be adequately lighted
absolutely.
also.
okay.
So,
Now, any other questions or objections? All right, so RJ, you started a second, but I wasn't sure if you're asking a question. Do you want a second?
I'll
motion?
second.
Okay. All right, all those in favor of approving the planned unit development with the conditions for the variance, or I'm sorry, with the variance and the condition of satisfying the staff review, say aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we 3 aye votes and then 2 absences. All right, I have no other cases on the agenda today. We sort of shortcutted communications, but again, I don't think we need to go into much more detail till we have more members that are present and a chance to review the off-street parking. So, any other communications?
No.
All right. Report from City Planner and Director of Development.
The only thing I had a meeting last week, again with Mike Knoll and Adam Baker. They are representing the property owners who own the former Columbia Gas site. They're trying to get that piece of land annexed into the city. I believe they've made headway with the township trustees and with the county commissioners on that, and do expect to have some of that moving forward here in the next couple months. And we did discuss with them, since the Planning Commission's role in that would be to make zoning recommendations, whether B3 or the industrial zoning is what they would prefer. I believe they're probably going to request industrial. I did point out to them, I believe that our zoning code does have a prohibition against residential in an M zone. To keep that in mind, depending on what type of use they ultimately want to have with it, that they need to think closely about that.
Okay.
Because it is tough to get something rezoned once it's already zoned, but that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Paul. John?
Just that I forwarded the sign recommendations over to the law director's office for their review, so we should have some input back someday to go over that. And I guess I'm sitting here thinking of the calendar, we will have our next BZA meeting prior to the next one, the Planning Commission meeting. So we do have a full slate right now. The tabling of the Holzer sign will be going back forward. There's a parking issue on a house on Grosvenor. We got a rear deck on Mulligan and 3-wide entertainment. So please attend.
The Mulligan deck, I think that's kind of an a lot of people, add decks or improvements to their, what's the issue with that?
That one, I got to be careful what I say here because I don't know if they got it in yet in time, but they should have if they did. And it's an L-shaped house that has a current deck on it, and they want to enclose, make it a screened-in patio, put a roof over it, which doesn't extend past the parameters of the existing home, but the rear of the house is too close to the setback from when it was originally constructed, so therefore they got to get a variance for it.
Okay.
So.
And it would be, if it were a deck, if they were adding a deck, would they still require the variance, or is it the fact that it's a screened-in?
The fact that, no, they got a variance years ago for the deck
So
itself.
any time
yeah.
that they approach that setback?
Yeah.
Okay.
So just going from an open deck to an enclosure.
Setback requirements?
Setback requirement, rear yard setback.
Okay. Well, I think that's important to know. So. All right, well, thank you. When does the BZA meet again?
That will be a week from Tuesday, so is that the 12th? Does that sound right? This is 14th. Would it help me out here? What is yesterday, the 31st? Week, 2 weeks from yesterday.
13th.
Okay, on Tuesday, too. Okay, thank you.
14th, is that what it is?
When's the next planning commission?
15th.
15th, day
So
before
it's-
that.
Yeah, it's the 14th.
Okay,
And that is it.
all right, thank you, John. Any questions for our planner and director? All right, the opportunity for citizens to speak, items not covered on the agenda. Good, thank you. Announcements and other business. Our next meeting is June 15th at noon. I will not be present. RJ will be chairing the meeting, and I assume the mayor will be back.
Yes, he should be back. I am not sure if I'll be present, but I'll advise in advance in case we look to reschedule.
Okay, very good. The evening does not work, so for some of our members, that would not be an option, I guess. Any other announcements? We have a town hall meeting coming up soon.
June 28th, 6:30 PM. There's information on the front page of the city's website for anybody that would like it.
Okay.
This will be a response meeting from the January town hall in which questions were posed to the mayor and to staff, and we'll be responding to some of that. And there'll also be an opportunity for citizens to speak and ask questions and talk about issues that they're concerned of. And please come.
Always good to attend. Any other items? Okay, last, sometimes I think we should put this to the beginning, the disposition of the minutes. Not sure why it's the end thing. But everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes that Charlene has shared with us. The corrections, people are interested in making, compliments.
I had one correction, Charlene, on the section under the sign ordinance, public hearing. On page 2, John Paskey read an email. Oh, it looks like you corrected it, never mind.
Yes.
There's a spelling error on what you sent me
She
last
said
week.
it was late, and I think you had to do this by
you did.
watching it, correct?
Yeah,
So
listening to it.
Did good.
Yeah. I think so.
you almost, you didn't quite capture the feeling, but I thought everything else was there. All right, I put forward a motion that we approve the minutes.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for attending.